Welcome to the Wellness Superheroes. We are your hosts. I'm Annie.
And I'm Jodi.
We have a guest with us, but before we get to our guest, we wanted to update you on the Niacin protocol, because since we did our last episode, the ratios have changed. So
imagine
surprise. So it's now 1 to 1.2 is the ratio. Or the starting dose is 500 milligrams to 600 milligrams of glutamine, L-glutamine. So for updated protocols, feel free to go to homeostasis.com/protocols for the most current and update version.
Yes.
Isn't that right, Jodi? Yeah. Awesome. So that's all we're going to talk about Niacin today. Our guest is here to educate us on a completely different topic. Today we're going to talk about water, the great detoxifier. And so I'll let Jodi introduce our guest.
Yeah, so I met Clea a few years ago at the beginning of the pandemic, and I have been fascinated with the topic of water ever since I met her. And so I'm going to read her amazing bio. Clea is a dynamic, energetic champion of health through hydration. She believes passionately in the importance of high quality water in our daily lives. Clea spent many years as a self-employed midwife, specializing in natural home birth and alternative medicine. It touched her deeply that both her grandchildren as well as many nephews were born into her hands. Because of her experience and research, she finds that water is the common factor in all life-giving and life-enhancing aspects, whether it be birth, health, as we grow into adulthood and throughout our lives. Being a specialist in women's health, she discovered the many benefits of pure water during menopause. Her expertise in the field of healthy water makes her an ideal spokespartner to advise on how the right water benefits your body in avoiding not only premature aging, but preventing many organic complaints and enhancing your all-over well-being through life.
Awesome. Well, we'll welcome Clea.
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
It's lovely to be with you. And just to add up with the intro, we had the third grandchild that has been born a week ago. So if you hear a little voice in the background, it's him.
It's the voice of life.
Yeah, it actually has been born into the water. So we are in the middle of the topic.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So I want to know, tell us how you got interested in this, in the topic of water and the quality of our water.
I probably went through a path that many of us do. I thought I know everything about water because I was very much connected to health. I was very much connected that, I knew that we have to drink a lot of water. So I had a friend of mine and she was telling me, I know you have this water filter that I recommended to you a while ago, but I think you should get some new information. And I put her on the hold, like 3 times. And she always reached out. And at the 3rd time, I said, okay, if you really think that this is new information for me, then let's do it. And I was listening to a presentation of hers. And actually, it really shocked me deeply because there was information in it that I, with my common knowledge as a midwife, as a healthcare practitioner, did not know. I had a misconception of it. And that made me aware how many people are running around with what the media puts on us, the bottled water industry puts on us. So for me, it was a decision of 5 minutes to go and purchase this water filter. But what I found so fascinating is really to understand how water works in our bodies.
Yeah, wow.
And so I came from the perspective, okay, our tap water is not the best, but it doesn't poison us. Well, in small amounts, but, over a long term. But what I noticed with my body that I didn't like to drink it. And even with the water filter I had at that time, I still had to force myself to drink maybe 2-3 glasses. So I was one of these people who drank a liter of green tea in the morning and then maybe a coffee in between and 3 or 4 glasses maximum. And then when I got this new water filter, I really started to drink. That means I didn't have to force myself anymore. And it made for me completely sense, because I thought, if you're sitting in front of a delicious meal, you don't have to force it into you. And so I realized the water topic has a lot to do with all the other vegetables and fruits that we have today. When we start really to have something that is freshly organic, ripe fruit picked from the garden, we only then start to notice the difference to something that we buy in the supermarket. So we notice the quality when we know, or we have a reference point, how a fruit or something should really taste. And the same is with the water. Water has a very fresh taste, healthy water that is, and we were covering these topics, what makes the differences in the water, but you don't have to force yourself to drink anymore. And this is the biggest advantage, because, it clicks with the consciousness of the body.
Right.
Doesn't repel it anymore. And since I'm doing this, I realized that so many people say, I know I should drink more. And they all are sitting there and saying, okay, 2 glasses, 3 glasses, maybe a liter, maybe 1.5. But then that's already,
Yeah.
on the top.
Yeah.
And actually, to stay hydrated, we need 30 milliliters per kilogram body weight.
Yeah.
Wow. Could you say that again, please?
30 milliliters per kilogram body weight. And this means only water.
Annie.
I'm a retired nurse also, Clea, and so I worked in aged care, and one of my beefs with nursing and patients with heart failure was that they were put on fluid restriction, and I thought, well, that's counterintuitive, because the body's only going to want to restrict, cling on to the fluid overload in their tissues more. So, they were put on 1.5 litres daily, and to try and upset that apple cart was institutional. That was an institutional rule, right? So that was, but I would try and surreptitiously encourage more fluids into these patients, and then I wound up with a reputation for it in the end. Whether they had heart failure or not, I was telling them to drink more water.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are many of these rules, they exist, but we hardly even know where they come from. And it comes through a really complete misunderstanding how water works in the body, and also what kind of symptoms we start to get when we are dehydrated. So now I realize, for example, when I forget to drink for 3 or 4 hours, I start to cough. This cough that comes from like everything feels a little bit sore. And I know exactly, okay, I need water. Before that, I thought, okay, it's normal. And a lot of other little things. So one book maybe that would be interesting, that really helped me to understand this better. It's called You Are Not Sick, You Are Thirsty, from Faridun Batmangelic.
Yeah.
And he dives really deep into the physiology. He has not the quality of water on the screen so much, because when he was practicing, the water quality was much better than it is today. But he really describes, for example, that allergy symptoms can be connected to a heightened level of, how do you call it? Help me.
Particles?
No, histamine.
Oh, histamine, yes.
Histamine. And histamine is the one transport for where that's distributing water to different parts in our body. So when we are dehydrated, it can be that allergies come from, or at least are supported by dehydration, and many other things.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So can you give an example of some other things that A, not drinking enough water can affect, and B, the right type of water or the wrong type of water?
Yeah, I think different things come together. So when we are born, we consist of 85% water. And when we are adults, we have 70 to 75% water. And this is the level where we should stay. And what happens often is, because the water quality has diminished, is that people start to drink less and less, or they substitute it by other beverages, which is not the same as water. And then this dehydration process is a very slow one. And maybe in the mid-40s or mid-50s, people start to get symptoms and think they are aging. Yeah. But what happens actually is that the body has gone into a kind of how would you say, maybe even like survival mode regarding the
Yes.
water.
Coping
And
mechanisms.
but we don't feel it because we get used to it over decades. And I had a very interesting, I can give you an example. Maybe in one of my last presentations, I had a woman who came and said, I'm in the beginning of my menopause. I know this. I have a low energy, and the headaches that I have been used to have for decades, maybe they are inherited, are getting really bad. And she came into the water presentation with headaches. And then she took water with her. So we have bottles that we give the people. They can try it for a week. And after 2 days, not only the headaches were gone, but she also had a lot more energy. And when she purchased the unit, since then, her headaches, I mean, they pop up sometimes when she's really stressed, but it's they are nearly gone.
Wow.
Yeah. And what she thought are menopause symptoms has been dehydration.
Right.
Wow.
And it could be toxicity too, from how toxic our water is, too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it's gone, to me, over the years. I remember the chart that I saw from you. It showed basically the levels, that were allowed in our water. And they used to be like these tiny little levels. And year by year, it kept going up and up and up. And now what's allowable is like extreme hazardous is what's allowed now in our waters.
Absolutely.
In our water all over the world. It's quite frightening.
I think it just has to do with our lifestyle and the sewage plants. They cannot manage it, so it's nobody's fault, so to speak. And we have solutions. I think what we need to understand is that thinking about water is not luxury. It's a really basic topic to stay healthy or get healthy again.
Yeah.
And the one crucial point is that the only means of water is it has the means to transport the nutrients we get from other sources, and it has to detoxify us. That means a water that is really clean can do this. The water that we have today is so full of substances, it's so loaded that it cannot transport things anymore. So even when we eat good stuff, the transportation level is diminished, and the detoxifying process is also diminished.
Yeah, because it's full of pharmaceuticals and hormones and, God only knows what else, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bacteria.
And the pharmaceuticals are the big problem, because even with the best technology at that point, they cannot take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are very small.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Right. They're very small molecules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Wow. So I want to tell me about, because what I personally, I stopped drinking soft drinks because I was a big time soft drink person. I drank Diet Dr. Pepper was like my drink, which is poison. Like when I try to drink it now, it literally, I almost vomit when I try it because it's so awful. And I'm like, how did I love this drink? And I was like, I had like 2 or 3 a day, and I stopped in like 2011 or something like that. And so, but I replaced it with San Pellegrino sparkling water or Perrier, thinking that I could count that toward my water take for the day, because I tried to drink 8 glasses of water a day. So, Clea, tell me the answer to that.
Well, welcome to the club. I mean,
because that is not counted toward your water, right? Am I right?
No, exactly. Most of the waters, of the bottled waters that you can buy, not all, but most of them, they have a very high amount of minerals.
Mhm.
And Perrier, for example, I mean, we don't want to make brands bad here, but
No, of course.
you can see this when they have the analysis on the water bottle.
Mhm.
The higher the amount of minerals, the less they can transport because it's full. And we can measure this with when we measure the conductivity of water, because the conductivity tells us something how many minerals or conductive particles are in the water. So the higher this amount, the higher the amount of particles in it, the less capacity the water has to transport nutrients or clean us. And when you really want to look at water from a very broad perspective, then it's insane to put water into bottles, to carry it once around the globe, to sell it for 20,000 times the amount that you can get from your faucet. And it's, I mean, it's like carrying cookies around the globe. It's crazy. And from the perspective of that, we have to start to value this element, and
Mhm.
that we can really, with home built-in solutions, save so much plastic bottles, transportation costs, even glass bottles. In order to clean them, you need around 7 liters water just to make a water bottle of glass to be reused. And my feeling is that we start to get a little bit conscious about it, and it will really become common, because the switch plants cannot deal with all the stuff that we have in the environment now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, that brings up the topic of plastic, and I'm going to try to find that video about plastics and put it in our presentation. I think it's available online, the one that you showed me. So so tell us why it's not good to drink pure water, actually any kind of water, out of a plastic bottle.
Beside the environmental impact, the biggest issue is that all of these plastic bottles, being it hard plastic or the softer plastics, they contain a lot of toxins. And what's most disturbing is that some of them, they act similar to hormones. For example, similar to estrogen.
Mhm.
So we mimic, or the body gets the information, oh, there's estrogen coming. And it binds to the receptors of estrogen, which means it messes up our hormonal system. And I mean, water and plastic bottles is only one thing. We have plastic all over in our in our environment, in cosmetics, and so at least this is something we could avoid.
Right, exactly.
And the longer the water is in these plastic bottles, the more of this stuff goes into it. And now comes the bad message: the cleaner the water is, the more it wants to grab.
Mhm. And
So
leach the
it makes a
plastic.
difference if you have a highly mineralized water. It will take less of these toxins and less of these particles, but it's evident the longer it stays inside, the worse it gets. So it's really, really unhealthy.
And wasn't there an article that said that I forgot what the name of one of the toxins in the plastic bottles, but it was I believe it was reducing sperm count, I believe, something like that, right?
These are the estrogens in
Yeah,
it. Exactly. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
reducing that. And that's not good. So
Yeah.
that's not good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not good.
And the environment is crazy today. I mean, we have 7 times more plastic particles in the oceans than plankton.
Yeah,
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
Funnily enough, my doctor was telling me a statistic recently that in New Zealand, Auckland alone, in the atmosphere, there are 4 million plastic bottles suspended in the atmosphere
Yeah.
at any given day in a
Yeah.
24-hour period. And it's interesting too, because I know a lot of people who will reuse their plastic water bottle because they think that they're being conscious of the environment, where really just don't buy the plastic bottle. Get yourself a glass one and wash it, clean it yourself, and fill it yourself. You know, just because of the the ramifications for the environment, your ramifications for your health. Just the less bottles, like you say, Clea, the less bottles that people purchase, then the less the industry continues to put that demand on the environment. And
I have my little thermos and I take it everywhere I go with my good water. And people think I'm so weird when I'll go to dinner and I'll have this. And they'll be like, "What is that?" And I go, "It's my water." And they go, "We have water." I go, "No, you don't understand. I can't drink your water." And I'm such a snob when I go to restaurants and I go, "Well, I'll try the tap. If it's tap with ice." And it's like I just go, it's like, it's like it tastes like poison. I can't drink it.
I can't either. And so I'll do one better, Jodi. When I used to work as a nurse, there was filtered water at the facility. Probably wasn't an amazing filter, but it didn't taste like tap water. And I used to take empty frosted glass bottles that were 750 mils from another supplement I used to take. And I would take boxes which would fit 4. I would take like 2 or 3 boxes to work, and I'd sit at the end of the corridor there and fill up my water bottles, and they'd be like, "Gee, Annie, you need some vodka, do you? Like, what you got in those frosted glasses, They thought it was at 5 o'clock in the world somewhere, I guess. I don't know." I'm like, "No, it's water, you nonks." So I would take my water bottles. I would go home with 8 filled, a filtered water.
Yeah.
Very weird. But when you know, right?
That's exactly the point. And I mean, I'm doing it like Jodi, when I go to a restaurant and they ask do you want a glass of wine? And I say, yes. Do you want water? No.
No, it's like, no, I don't want your water. Your water's not good.
I have a stainless steel one. So they are also
too.
perfect.
Mine's
inside. Yeah.
Inside, yeah. And it's great. And I love the glass bottles, the blue glass bottles too, I'll do. Because I know, because I bought this filter that Clea uses, and it's called Truu, TRUU. It's a truu.com, and it is, I was sold on it immediately, and when I got it, I couldn't wait. It was like when it was installed, it was just like this, so excited, and I got it, and then it was like when I started drinking the water, I was like, oh, and it was like this, like, oh my gosh, this tastes amazing, and it was like what your body needs, and it's so easy to drink the water, like she said, just like a kid is going to naturally gravitate toward like good food, or you are, a delicious meal, and so when you have water that is made, the pure water it's made for you to put into your system, it's natural that you want more of it and you crave that water as opposed to the toxic water. And I also learned from Clea, and maybe you can speak to this, Clea, that plastic water in plastic bottles it could be worse for you than tap water because of the lack of regulations. Is that right?
Lack of regulations?
Yeah. Didn't you say it wasn't regulated?
I know what you mean.
Industry, the bottled water industry is not regulated like tap water is.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. So this was the second part that shocked me.
Yeah.
The bottled water industry, and I looked in different countries. It was amazing that they managed to do everywhere the same. So for your drinking water, you still have, although it's not perfect, but you still have quite tight regulations in which amount can be in it. And it has to be tested very regularly. Yeah, sometimes it's once a month, but it is very regular. So you can go to your council website and have a look who is your water supplier, and you will find information, and you really can see, okay, we have so much of fluoride, so much of this, of that. The bottled water industry doesn't have to do that.
Wow.
They have to do a water analysis. But if they do it every 5 years, or how old the analysis is they have on the bottles, it's not really controlled. It's not really taken care of. If it's accurate, that's another point. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And of course, they also they only have to tell about a few things. What about the other stuff that's in it?
Right.
And it's amazing that something that can be sold over the counter is less controlled than with what you flush your toilet.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty. I mean, because I always thought bottled water, especially if I got San Pellegrino in glass, would be great, but it's not regulated. Now, being in glass, if you're going to buy bottled water, make sure it's in glass, no matter what. Do not drink, in my opinion, any water that comes in a plastic bottle. Yeah. But if you do get water in glass, you investigate the company too that you're buying from, because there's a few. I think there's two, and as a outside of the water filter that you that you represent, that there's two brands that you think are decent, right? For
Yes.
bottled water, Loretana.
There will be probably a few more, but let's say what's quite readily available worldwide. So one is Loretana. It comes high from the Alps, and this water has gone through the natural filtration process. So it comes out normally by itself, which is called an artesian well. And it's not coming from a borehole, which is also not natural water for us. If you bore a hole and then you get the water out that is sitting there in a cavern. The other one, I'm just not sure. But this is the one.
Wasn't it Voss, VOSS, in glass?
Voss water, exactly. Yeah, this comes from glaciers, and it costs a hell. But these are waters that if you travel, you can get them.
Yeah,
and they're in glass bottles too. I think I've seen.
They are in glass bottles, but both of them are also selling them now in plastic.
Yeah. So you have to be careful when you order. Or I know I've always seen Voss, like when I travel, like in the airport, and in fancy delis and that kind of stuff. Loretana is a little bit harder to get. You can order it online, and it's a little harder to get unless you go to like a fine Italian restaurant, and that's the water they'll put on your table. It's really nice. And I Loretana, there's a distribution place here that I bought before I bought my unit, and it was it's good water, but wow, is it expensive? I mean, good water is expensive unless you buy a unit, and then the cost of the unit, but you'll pay for that in a year, of buying. And I just thought, after I got my unit, it was so nice not to have to go to the store and be lugging around, because I always bought like this, distilled water in a big, gallon thing, and I was buying bottles of, San Pellegrino or Mountain Valley, or whatever water I wanted to do, but I was buying them in plastic bottles, and then I was buying them in glass bottles, and it was so heavy to carry, and now it's like I don't have to worry about that. That's all gone. The cost and the lugging around and then taking it back to the recycle and all that stuff, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk on that then, because distilled water comes to mind, and I've not entirely been sure, because I know that how the distilled process works. In order to get distilled water, I thought that would concentrate certain chemicals, toxins, minerals that are in the water instead of purifying it. Do you have any comment on that, Clea?
Yeah, so basically when you distilled water is very clean water, actually. When you look at rainwater, it runs through the distillation process of nature. And the same if you would have a distillator at home that makes out of water distilled water. So this is not bad, but what you can buy in the grocery stores is often purified with chemicals, or in a chemical way. I cannot go too much into detail because I don't know that much about it, but this is demineralized water. It's not really distilled water, and this is through a special process. So this is for sure nothing we should drink. Which brings me,
so many people drink distilled water, and they promote it right now. I think I'm a little delayed. Sorry about that. They promote it, and so tell us why because distilled water in plastic bottles, wouldn't that be bad? Wouldn't it be leaching the plastic or not?
Of course. Yeah.
Mm.
Of course it does.
Mhm.
And when we look at water, I think we are just at the beginning of starting to understand that this is a very precious element, where there is a lot to learn about. So the moment you start to store water in plastic, it will be recontaminated. There is
Mhm.
no way around it. And the purer the water is, the more of these contaminants it will absorb.
Yeah.
Mm.
The next thing is the energy level of water.
Right.
Water in nature is always in motion. If you have a swimming pool and the pump is defect, you can literally watch how quickly the water gets bad. And this is a little bit, it shows us that water, when it's in motion, it stays healthy, it has energy, it's vital.
Mm.
So when we are talking about how to prepare water, really good water from the tap water, we have to look at water at very many different perspectives. And the first I would say is, how can you make it physically really clean? Because this is the first step before we talk about the other things, and when we are talking about this water filter system, it hasn't invented anything new. All these things have been invented in the last 100 years, when people who were diving into this matter were looking for solutions. The energy of water, the structure of water, the memory of water, how to make it physically pure, and so on. The only thing they did was they used the right material so that the water doesn't get recontaminated.
Mm.
And they put all these systems that have already been invented in the right order, so that you really have a kind of spring in your kitchen at the end.
Wow.
And this makes this high quality, what you were saying, Jodi, that it tastes so good and that it tastes fresh. Our body recognizes this.
Right.
Yeah, our
Yep.
cells literally can understand that this is a very big difference to other waters.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, because to me, because you've got the, not only cleaning it with all these different, it has like 8 layers of filtration,
Yes.
or 8 levels of filtration, and it goes through all these different, it's very sophisticated, and it's made in Germany, where they make everything, amazing. And it goes through all these processes, but it also restructures it and animates it so that it is like coming out of a spring, a natural spring,
Yes.
and it's living.
Yes.
And it does remove the memory that was there before, right? The memory
Yes.
in the water, which I don't believe most water filters systems do now, but it's so interesting that water holds memory.
Absolutely.
And that's what the water in our body holds memory, right?
Mm.
Yes.
Of our experiences and our energy and our blueprint, and all that stuff is held in the water that's inside of our body. So
Yes.
yeah, water is one of the most amazing things in the world. So I have a question. I wanted to go back to minerals,
Yes.
because a lot of people I know go, oh, I put Himalayan pink salt or Celtic sea salt in my water and it makes it better. What's your answer to that?
For drinking purposes,
Yes.
it is not a good advice, because you put something in the water that fills it up. In general, Himalayan salt and these high quality salts are super. So what would be a good advice is to make a solution where there is a lot of salt in it. Put a little bit on this solution into a glass of water and drink 1 glass of water of this salty solution in the morning to get minerals into the body. That's fine. But this is not for drinking purposes. This will not hydrate us. It has
Right.
another
It's probably
meaning.
better to get your minerals with your food, I would think, right?
That's absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
I think we are all demineralized by now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to get this from other sources, absolutely. With this very clean water, what's very interesting, all kinds of supplements, you need less because the absorbability is bigger.
Right.
So it can transport more of it. And many people say, okay, I can reduce even medication when they are taking some kind of pharmaceuticals. Or other things they are taking.
Right? Supplements they have to take. Now that makes sense now, Annie. Now I know the answer to my issue.
The other thing is with the minerals in the water, and this is really, I mean, why does the bottled water industry call themselves, why do they sell mineral water, right? So they have literally implemented in our brains that we need the minerals in the water.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is exactly something we don't need because the minerals in the water are anorganic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not by nature. It's not by natural pathways like in nature. You think about minerals; it's all in dirt. So it's going to be a gritty, it's things that you're going to eat from the earth that provide that, not
where the plant through photosynthesis is doing the work for us. And then, I mean, if you have a watermelon, you have high quality water, but it has run through the process in nature. And minerals in the water, what they actually do is, I'm leaning out a little bit, I think, but it's true. They make all these kidney stones and these stuff because the body has to get rid of it again. It's very hard to process it, and it ends up in our tissues and in our vessels, and can be stored in the kidneys.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I'm like drinking minerals in water would take it through the pathway of processing through your kidneys and your bladder tract, as opposed to when you eat it, then it goes through your stomach and your colon. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also the type of minerals are different. So from that point of view, we have really been brainwashed. And I was a midwife, and I thought, if I would have known this stuff, and when I was still working as a midwife, I would at least understand better why certain things happened. And it didn't go away because if a woman started to drink 2 liters of any kind of herbal teas, which is already full with something.
Right. And that brings me to the point of a lot of people think, in their water intake for the day, they think they can include coffee or tea when it's literally the opposite.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Because I think for every cup of coffee that you would drink, you would have to drink 2 cups of water to make up for the coffee because it dehydrates you.
Yeah. I think if you are really well hydrated, you will not notice it. But people who are already dehydrated, and let's face it, why do people drink a lot of coffee? They want this energy kick.
Right.
And we were talking about that water can also give you energy. And this is one of the most fascinating things, that our body literally can make energy out of water.
Yeah.
So we always think, water is H2O. No, it's not. Our body produces H3O and H2O out of it. And this is a natural process. So the more pure water we have, the less energy the body needs to make this very pure water with a high energy level. And when we are dehydrated, we know it, our energy level is low. The first system in the body that wants water, that craves for water, is our brain. So it takes as much as it can get. And then it gets distributed to the other organs. So when we are on a low level of dehydration, we can have all kinds of symptoms and would never connect them because we are not educated on it.
Right. And you
then
think
you
you're
put
sick.
the next pill, to cover a symptom. We have a lot of people who have a high blood pressure who can not only reduce, but after a while can leave away their medicine because the whole organism starts to readjust again and get back to normal.
Wow.
And a lot of women are menopausal women are getting off their hormones, right? Isn't it helping like with hot, or at least their symptoms of like hot flashes and stuff like that, right?
Yes. This was exactly that. I know we talked about it, but this is where I was really flabbergasted, because when I was reading this book of Bad Mangelic, there was one page where he just listed the symptoms of dehydration, and it started with hot flashes, with sleeplessness, with bad temper, with irritability, headaches, migraines, And I thought, this is the menopause list.
Right.
One on one. And then it made click, and I thought, okay, what if many of these dehydration symptoms just occur because this is the level where the body starts really to counteract and really start to develop symptoms? I mean, I never believed that, we because we go through menopause, we have to take hormones. I think like in the UK, they now defined, politicians defined menopause as hormone deficiency state. And I never believed in this crap. And when I read this book, I thought, okay, this makes total sense. Of course, we go through a hormonal change, but this is natural, and it should not make so many symptoms that some women really suffer of. But if they are dehydrated, and then on top you have hormonal changes, and then you maybe change your life because you start to reinvent yourself or whatsoever, then it can become really tough. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And
Wow.
I just thought of something, my conspiratorial mind, Clea. So if you think about the water that our tap water and our bottled water has lots of particles, conductive particles, right? And the more conductive particles you have in your body, it would probably be easier to ping you with 5G frequencies, I'm assuming.
It could well be. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's just because I just feel like lately I felt like they did something. They amped up the frequency or something, because I can feel it in my body, in my head and everything. And I'm on a intense healing protocol, and Annie's on the same one. And we've all felt some weird stuff the last week or two. And it's kind of unexplainable. And the people who are not on the protocol are feeling the same way. So it's strange. We don't know really what's going on. So, yeah.
Something you said before, Clea, about people not feeling thirsty anymore with drinking this type of water, like once they reach a certain threshold, it caused me to think, actually, I don't know if you know anything about chlorine dioxide solution, but that was something that we tried for a while, and that's used as water purification in third world countries. Especially people who go traveling, they're recommended to take this and mix it up as a solution and add it to the water, and it filters it. My parents were taking it until recently, and my mum mentioned that she said when she went off it, that she felt more thirsty, and she really missed feeling satiated by the CDS. We mixed up the CDS that she would drink, and she'd do that 2 or 3 times a day or whatever. She noticed she didn't have to drink as much water. And now I believe we did, there was an episode we did with our counterpart a while back where she was talking about structured water. Do you know of much about structured water, and if that's what factors into the thirst or the lack thereof of thirst once you're drinking structured water?
I think our body recognizes it definitely on a structural level. I don't know if it counteracts the physical thirst so much, but I think what I feel definitely is, since I'm well hydrated, I have the feeling like I have a protection cushion around myself. I would have put myself, before I started to drink this water, one of these people who are very shy, who don't want to go under people, because I had the feeling all the frequencies people are sending out enter me and I have no protection. So I had very quickly the feeling, just stay away and just give me peace and not too many. And this has completely gone. Which means our hydration level and the structural level, which brings clarity, and also the brain functions very differently. This makes a big difference. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at a snowflake, you will see how beautiful the structure of water is. And one experiment, for example, what we do when people are doing we call it drinking study, because they can drink the water for a week when it's available in their surroundings. And we do very interesting experiments with them. And one is freezing the water. You did it, Jodi, you
Yeah, I
remember.
did it. I froze in a shot glass, and I froze my tap water. I froze my Berkey filter, and then I froze the Truu Water, and I compared them after I froze them, and it was quite astonishing. Looking at it after it froze, and the tap water was just nothing but cloudy, white cloudy muck, which, like, if you get ice cubes out of your refrigerators, that's pretty much what they look like. They're kind of cloudy, and then lo and behold, my Berkey you couldn't tell the difference between my Berkey and the tap water frozen.
Wow.
And then the Truu Water was completely clear, and then a Christmas tree, like a structure in the middle. It was beautiful.
Wow.
And it was like, wow. And Cynthia, she did the same test with her Kangen filter, which I think is $5,000, and it was cloudy too.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
So tell us then, Claire, about these different levels of filtering that the Truu Water goes through.
That what it does, yeah. So the first one is it goes through 3 pre-filters that are taking out the bigger debris. When we're talking about big, we go down, I think, to 5 micrometers or something. So it's already very small. But when you open one of these pre-filters after 1 year, when they have to be exchanged, you can really see what you did not put in your body. So that they look like mud, actually. So you have these 3 pre-filters, and they are basically protecting the rest of the unit from damage because these particles are too big. Then we have an ultraviolet lamp that is killing germs. And then we have a reverse osmosis cartridge, which is a very high power cartridge. And this reverse osmosis is the state of art way to purify water and make it really clean down to the molecular level. It's basically the only way to clean a lot of water very, very good. And most of the systems that I have looked into don't have this. They either have simple charcoal cartridge filters. On their websites, you still find that they can purify out a lot of things. I don't know how they do it because it just can't really happen from the physical level. So reverse osmosis is the way to really purify water. If you would stop there, then you can buy a filter for $300 and you will have something that will make your water very clean. But the problem is the structure is completely destroyed. It's also destroyed when it comes from your tap. Yeah. And this water has a slight acidity, which is not good. So for our bodies, the best way to get water is in the neutral realm of the pH level. So it can use it wherever it's needed without high adjustments. And because this water has been purified, you only need a slight impulse to one or the other direction. So the water will switch either to alkaline or acid, depending on what's needed. Yeah,
Wow.
our intestines are very alkaline, our stomach is very acid. So now comes the interesting point of this machine. It switches from the material to stainless steel surgical quality after the reverse osmosis.
Wow.
Because this is the only material that you can really use that is very durable. We have a warranty of 30 years.
Wow.
And it does not recontaminate the water. Because after the reverse osmosis, as we have learned now, the water has a lot of fingers and wants to grab everything. So put it in a plastic container and it will grab even more of this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So that
yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but you
No,
mentioned alkalinity, and I know that that's a trend in
Yes.
The health and fitness communities. Drink alkaline water.
Yeah.
I tried drinking alkaline water, and it gave me severe indigestion. So it maybe makes me think that, like you say, too much of a good thing is not a good thing, and it maybe the scales have been tipped too much one way.
I think it goes even deeper, and what you're experiencing, many people are experiencing. I think when we look at nature and we have water in nature, how many sources of really alkaline water do we find worldwide? Very, very little. I know we have one source in Portugal, which has a high alkaline level, but generally the water comes in the neutral realm. So we are made for this water. The idea that we have to change the water that we drink in order to make it better, I mean, we've done this before as humanity, and most of the time it doesn't work very well, at least on these basic levels. The other point is that this thinking that with alkaline water you can regulate your acid-base alkaline states in the body, I think it's a misconception.
Yes.
Because it comes from somewhere else. And it's a little bit like swallowing a pill instead of looking at the symptoms,
Yes.
and treat really the source of it, which does not come from the water. Yeah. And I did not find it really understandable why, when you put alkaline water into the body, this should help you with the alkalinity of your body, because it's and even these filters, they have been invented by medical companies, and it should have been a treatment for 4 to 5 weeks and not more than 500 milliliter.
Wow.
Yeah. So that this should be our drinking water was never the intention, but I think at some point they found it's a nice way to make money.
Yeah. Well, and interesting too, and it makes sense, like you say, because our stomach is acidic with the hydrochloric acid. So it's kind of like before we mentioned, it's going the wrong route. So to try and alter, and it's in the medical community, it's really blood pH that they worry about. It's the respiratory acidosis and alkalosis and all that sort of stuff. And it's the wrong, you don't intake water into your lungs. That's not what you want to do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
But by drinking alkaline water, it's not gonna benefit that. It's not going to rectify that anyway, because our bodies have natural pathways of balancing homeostasis and doing things. So I see what they're trying to do, but it's a bit of a fad, and it's the wrong way about it.
I think it is, and also the other thing is, in order to make this water alkaline, you have to have a lot of minerals in it. So it's a complete different perspective to look at water, but I think my biggest idea is really we don't have it in nature, so we should not mess around.
That's a very good point, and it's interesting too that you mentioned that there's like one source that you know of in nature that has that, and then I think, well, then that would be very dependent on its environment, like it's the microorganism, like the
probably
the permaculture. You know what I'm trying to say? The words aren't coming to me, but that isolated environment. What's what plants, what plant life, what botanicals, what animals, insects, all that sort of stuff thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
Interesting, Clea.
I have another question for you. A lot of people are talking about these atmospheric water generators. Do you know anything about those?
No, it's completely new to me. What is it?
It's where it takes, and Annie, maybe it's like it takes the ether and turns it into water from the atmosphere.
I don't know about that.
And I know this woman from New Zealand, she talked about it, and she had one at her house. I was fascinating by it, but at the same time, I was like, if they're poisoning our air, with chemtrails, like, are you pulling in the chemtrails into the water generator? And is it, because they're thinking it's like, quote, rainwater, but if we've got all these chemicals, I don't know what the level of filtration is, or if it just turns it into water. But I find that fascinating, because you could be able to use it, anywhere, but I don't know. I would love to do a comparison of something like that versus, what you're using, because there's so many water filtration systems out there. And, the fact that when Cynthia had the Kangen, is that how you said it? I think Kangen, it's $5,000. And it was when she did the test, it was just as bad looking, the frozen water, as tap water.
Yeah.
And you just think, and my Berkey was the same thing. And I thought, well, what is it actually doing? So it was very interesting.
That's absolutely the point. So what I'm always offering people, if they want to learn more about it, to really join a water presentation where we go even deeper into details. That's a good possibility, because you get very, very quickly confused when you try to look into the internet and find the solutions by yourself, because you don't know what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Well, I can definitely say that charcoal filters can only take out 10% of the particles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the nasty stuff is smaller.
Right.
Yeah.
Really nasty stuff. Yeah. So reverse osmosis is the only filtration system that can do it, really purify it. Then look at the material. I have not seen until now another system that uses surgical steel quality, stainless steel surgical quality. So, and the price is not always an indicator, like you say. You get these nice little plastic boxes. It's plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
enough said.
Well, and also I will say the True filter, the one that I have is the home filter, which goes under your sink. It's very compact. It fits almost any way you can do it. It's really easy to install. And then they also have a travel unit that is like a steel suitcase, a stainless steel suitcase on
aluminum suitcase.
Yeah, which is really convenient for anyone if you don't want to, if you don't, look at Annie. And if you look, they have, and then this thing right here, the tall one is for like a business, like a gym or something like that. That's like a fountain. And then, so they've got different options. And if anyone's interested, we'll put the link so you can schedule a session with Clea or me or both of us to learn more about the units and True Water. It's changed my life in such a drastic way, and it's changed the way I think about water and how important water is in our life, and how how little regulations there are about cleaning our water.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And when you look at what's allowed in water, we are only looking at a very small margin. In total, we have 30,000 water pollutants.
Right.
Yeah. And what's regulated is, well, when it's 40, then it's already quite a lot. And in many cases, they say, okay, we just change a little bit the figures and we put them up so that you still feel safe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And the other point that I wanted to share with you, which I found so fascinating, that I learned that our cells, because our cells, the water distribution in our body works really like in nature, like with every plant, with every pet, with every animal, it works on the level of osmosis.
Right.
And from I had to relearn it. I forgot everything what I learned at school, but what I understood after that is that when you have a cell that has a certain amount of particles in its cell water, when it's healthy, and you put into the body water with a higher amount of particles, it will dehydrate the cell. So you drink water and you think you hydrate yourself, but when it has more particles and a higher amount of particles than inside of the cell, it will literally dehydrate the cell. Beside, the body, of course, can still make water out of it that is purer, but the energy it needs in order to do this is very high. It's like when we are eating very processed food, we somehow digest it, but it takes more energy than it gives to us.
Wow.
So this system is very sophisticated because it looks really at all levels. It looks at the pH level that is regulated with a cartridge filter after the reverse osmosis. It looks at the memory of water, because everything water comes in contact with gives it an imprint. And so even when you purify water on the physical level, the information of all these things is still in it. And there is a very interesting professor from France, Luc Montagnier, who could really show that water has a memory, and he was investigating this for decades. So it's
he just recently died, right?
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah. I like him. Yeah. And I think I studied so much work from Dr. Emoto, about the messages in water and love and all that stuff in water. And water it takes on the information of a photograph shown to it, words spoken to it, words put in it, near it, around it. It's amazing, showing a picture. It's weird how much water takes in and how much water we are. We're mostly water, so it's affecting us as well.
Absolutely. And when we are talking, I mean, we have to detoxify more than before. And from only this point of view, the normal water doesn't do it anymore for us.
Right.
Not even to speak about the stuff that we have in the water. We probably can survive with that somehow, in order. But when we have clean water that flushes it out again.
Right.
I mean, when you are cleaning your windows, you're not running around and taking the water with what you have cleaned your floor before.
Yes.
Right.
And that's the same with our body. It just needs a lot of fluids in terms of pure water in order to really clean our cells again.
Exactly. I wanted to do a personal testimonials on my animals when I got this filter, because I started giving it to my dog. She's passed now, but after I got the filter and I started giving it to her as her drinking water, she had all kinds of intestinal and urinary issues, and she was having a lot of accidents in the house, and I had pads everywhere. Within a week of giving her that water, no more accidents ever after that.
Wow.
And my cat, I couldn't smell her litter box anymore. I had to really remind myself when to change it, because usually I do it by smell, but I couldn't smell it anymore. And I was like, whoa. And I remember a friend of mine who's a vet said that most cats in the last decade die of kidney disease, and they have kidney problems as they get older. And I think it's because everyone's giving them tap water, and the tap water is toxic. And so I thought that was really interesting. And also, I had really sensitive eyes. I had bloodshot eyes all the time, like weeping, crying, bloodshot eyes, puffy, all the time. And then I decided, I'm going to try washing my face with that water. I have it in my kitchen sink. So I went and did that and started washing my face with that water and splashing my face with that. No more bloodshot eyes. Haven't had it since I started. And I literally, it's like I have a roommate, and he's like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm at the kitchen sink, doing my routine, because I won't wash my face unless it's with that water. And I'll even heat it up, in my kettle to, make it warm and everything. And it's made all the difference in the world in my complexion and in my puffiness of my eyes, and no more bloodshot eyes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Wow. I think what you said too.
I wash my hair in it, and my hair's not frizzy anymore.
Wow. So, I'm the kind of person that likes to go all the way. And so when I was in the last couple of years, I was looking for a water filter. I grew up with filtered water. It was a system, my parents were in Amway, and so it was a system that they had, which then was discontinued. And it did okay, but it was plastic. So, it wasn't doing the amazing stuff, but it didn't make it taste like tap water, and I was sensitive to the taste of chlorine that they use in the water. So when I wouldn't drink water, I was like, I won't drink it because I know it's no good, so I'd rather not. But that was my thought process. I'm very black and white in that regard. But when trying to find a filter for our family during COVID, it was really hard. And I even looked at the Kangen water unit, and I thought, gee, all this money. And I didn't, but like what you say, Clea, to know what you're looking for is really, really key. And I didn't know what to look for, except that I wanted something that
and you are already educated.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine
it was really hard to find anything decent, and it wasn't until we got a mail drop. There was a water filter company in New South Wales that were doing mail drops or something, and they were like, "Yep, get this clean and clear water thing." Again, it's another plastic unit, but it was bigger, more comprehensive, and it had reverse osmosis. And so I was like, and it was reasonably priced. So I was like, okay, well, we'll sort that out. So I mean, it's still not amazing, but it's better than one of the Brita filter jugs that you can get with those crummy little cartridges to filter your water.
Yeah.
But so to find a unit that you can fit to your main water line so that you bathe in it and all the things, that's still something I'm yet to find. I don't imagine that True Water does that either, does it?
No, it wouldn't make sense because it's a little bit like we are using water to flush our toilets. There are easier solutions to make the shower water and at least bearable. But here we are really talking about a drinking solution. And the moment you use reverse osmosis, you always have a bit of residue water. So if you would start to do it for the whole household, and again, it would not work from different perspectives, because to pump water through the whole house, you need a lot of pressure. When you put a lot of pressure on water, the structure is gone again.
Yes, that makes
So
sense.
this is a really water solution. And what I really like, there are different things I like besides that the water is really, really high quality. We had a joke, like many people are buying water filters, but this is the last one that you will buy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the point. The supply is secured. It's an old family company that has switched actually to making these water filters, and they really have a vision. And
they're wonderful. They're such wonderful people. All the people I've
really
met.
nice people.
Yeah.
And the whole system works only with the water presentation to really feed our brain with the information that we need to understand water. And then, so we put a lot of effort into educating people. It's not like, oh, the bottles are nice, buy the filter. It's really educating on Zoom, live, however it's possible. And then the whole system works on referrals. So you can literally also refinance your system. This is not the cheapest water filter, but it is really, something
totally worth it. Totally worth it.
It's totally worth it. Yeah. And with the 30 years of warranty, it's just an amazing, I think from my point of view, it's cheap.
Yeah.
When you compare, the more you dive into it, the more you understand that.
Yes. Well, once those levels of understanding of how the body responds to those things is like what you invest in this water filter, you actually detract from all the pharmaceuticals and the doctor's appointments, and I've got this headache and that thing, and so the chronic fatigue and all the rest of it, right? So it's an investment. It's a small price to pay for the long game.
Exactly.
It's amazing. And when we start to shift this understanding in our mind, then we start to really appreciate. I'm definitely completely clear on that into the next level of consciousness, we cannot go without structured water.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I totally agree. And I want to say one thing. I'm a bath person. I take baths, and there's like really terrible bath filters. And so because I know how True Water works, and what pure water always cleans. I think that's what you said, Clea. So what I would do is I'd take a couple of gallons, I'd fill it up from my water filter, and I'd pour it in the bathtub, and I'd put like really hot water there, and then I would mix that. So at least it was cleaning some of the water and making it a little bit more pure, that part of the water, because it will, if you take bad water and add good water to it, the good water is going to clean the bad water, and then it's going to be kind of good water, so that's what's the beauty about water, how intelligent it is.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Leaves an imprint.
Right.
It's like it's like, I'm a musician, Clea. It's like with tuning forks, the tuning fork that's not so in tune will fall in line to the one that is. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really interesting analogy. I like it.
So I love, Clea, that you talk about education, and I find that any company that has a product that is invested in educating the general populace are ones that are worth investing in, that being part of community-wise. I know that that various fields of things where I've joined a company that educates the general populace, I've never regretted joining those communities. So on that note, how do you run these presentations regularly? Are they scheduled? Because I know you said they're word of mouth. So how can people see one of these presentations? Because I want to come.
You have a website. There's a website, right?
The easiest way is to go to the web. I have my own website, so it doesn't make really sense to go to the company's website, because they will look for the next partner who is close to it in order to then refer them further. It's called Water Means Life, one word, .net.
Yep.
And there you can schedule the next water presentation or a quick call with me to schedule one. And then I'm very happy to do this. And best works with 3, 4 households, 5 households, not too big groups, so that there is enough room for questions. And it takes 1.5 hours actually to really explain everything about it. And people, of course, come also from different knowledge levels. And then, perfect. Great.
Fantastic.
Put it in the show notes, Annie.
Gotcha.
And then where the possibility exists, you can try the water. Where it doesn't exist, maybe sometimes. For me, it was just the information. I did not have access to the water, but it was so clear for me that this is the future. And it will become like our mobile phones, Wait 10 years and you will not get around without a water filter anymore.
No, I agree. To me, it's one of the most important things right now because of, they're trying to kill us all. So, and water is one of them,
This is the most vulnerable point, exactly.
Yes.
And when you're talking about frequencies, Annie, this is exactly what I feel. We are literally a little bit crazy. We have this mobile unit. I ordered now a second one because it's a little, the new version is a little bit lighter than the other one. And we are literally making, when we are on vacation, water every day, because we don't run around with so many of these water bottles. But you don't get me to drink this water out of plastic bottles anymore. Yeah. It's and in many
too much. You pass the point of no return. You can't.
Well, that's what happens to people who come to the presentation and then they're like stuck because they're like, I can't drink my water anymore. I can't drink the tap water. I can't drink my bottled water. Help!
Yeah, watch out. You'll get wrecked. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Better be prepared to upgrade your water system, right? Because you won't be able to go back.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I think the word is really spreading. In Germany, we have now 21,000 customers, and this all happened within a little bit more than 12 years. Which shows, once you raise the consciousness, the people start to understand, because otherwise it's just under the level of understanding. And this really, it's also fun, to talk about the water and see like it starts to click.
Yeah, when it clicks, you're horrified and at the same time really passionate about it.
Yeah.
And we learn so much more about ourselves and how our bodies are brilliant,
Totally.
at protecting us, and it does the best it can.
Yes.
But once we start getting symptoms, it's like, okay, guys, I'm struggling. Hello, help over here. And for people to start tuning in and listening to their bodies and really start to tap into the intuition and gut instincts. It's been a challenge, I know, for even me personally, and many people I know that are on this journey of trying to take back their health and, be sovereign, be their own doctors. It's like, it's overwhelming, but also very exciting and very rewarding.
Yeah.
Clea is the one that talked me into letting go of my incredibly expensive insurance. It was ridiculous, $1,200 a month, and I was never going to the doctor. And she says, "Why are you going to the doctor? You're not sick." And I was like, "I don't know."
I'm glad she did, because eventually I would have.
You're brainwashed into thinking you have to have this, right, in order to, and it was just wasted money for, I think it was a whole year or 2 years or something. And I was just like, I'd never used it, because the only time I would ever go to the doctor was urgent care if I, had a sinus infection or something. And then, or, I always went to a chiropractor, massage, acupuncture, that kind of stuff, which is never covered. And so it was like, what am I doing? I was getting, my annual visit with the gynecologist. I used it for that and nothing else.
Right.
So
yeah,
maybe
and that wouldn't have cost, the month's worth of fees, right? For those
right.
appointments.
And then you're just like, it's such a brainwash, the insurance industry and big pharma, with that you need us, you need this, you need to be able to pay this, this high amount just to survive and live. When once you let that go, you'll thrive, because you don't need it. And then when you understand the nature of disease, like we've been learning, then you really don't need it. And you don't need any pharmaceuticals unless, you have and have some really dire circumstances.
Yes. Well, Clea, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Awesome.
It was so good. Instant connection, feel like
I told you you'd love
time.
Clea, Annie. I was like, you're gonna love Clea. Yeah. She's the best.
She was right. Jodi's often right. Very good track record Jodi has.
I just wanted to say one last thing, in case we have a lot of inquiries. Be a little bit patient, because we are really doing small groups, and we are generally shipping worldwide. And it's a pioneer work, but I can assure that it's worth to become a water ambassador.
Yes,
in every country.
So good. So true. Wonderful. Thank you, Clea. Appreciate that. Awesome.
All right.
Well, Jodi, thank you for introducing me to Clea. That
she's the best.
That's so good. I mean, I was already on the water wavelength, but I know there's always more to learn, and I'm a nerd. We know this, so I'm keen to get to one of her presentations.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Invite your mom. Your mom will like it too.
Mate, I've got a list as long as my arm. I'm like, you need to come to this. I know.
Yeah.
Because again, finding a filter was hard, and I've got a lot of people who are like, Annie, what filter did you get? So they've bought the one that we've got. So so there are people who know and are looking for solutions, but that's just about the education.
Right.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, do like, share, subscribe, and leave any comments or questions below. You can email us at wellnesssuperheroes@gmail.com. We're on Rumble, we're on Spotify, we've got Telegram groups and a Facebook group.
We just started TikTok.
We just started TikTok. Yeah, I haven't updated the banner.
Yeah.
And we're on Instagram. So we're pretty much everywhere. Especially if there's anything in this episode that really resonated with you and you think of a friend, feel free to share it to spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
See if we can reach that threshold, the 100th monkey effect, right, Jodi?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Jodi. Another good show. I'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.